Like, people want better. There's sort of some strong forces at play here.
If you were in charge of regulations, what kinds of regulations, what kinds of boundaries or restrictions do you believe should be put in place?
A partnership between the companies developing this technology and governments is really important. One of the first things to do, and this is now happening, is to get the governments to start figuring out how to do safety testing of these systems, like we do for aircraft or new medicines or things like that. And then I think from there, if we can get good at that now, we'll have an easier time figuring out exactly what the regulatory framework is later.
Who do you speak with in the federal government?
We speak with a lot of people in the executive branch, and then dozens of people fairly regularly. There's a new AI Safety Institute in the U.S. that we work with. I personally probably have some conversation with someone in the government every few days.
Every few days?
Yeah.
And what are y'all talking about?
What the U.S. needs to do to lead here, how we're going to build enough data centers, how we're going to deal with chips and where those chips are produced, and make sure that geopolitically we have a good strategy there, how to think about safety for AI and how the government should test it, how to think about collaboration with other governments, what the economic impact of this is going to look like, how the government should be using this, all that.
The bottom line for, I think, most people is whether or not you can trust the people who are in charge. And I know you went through a phase where your own board said, we don't trust you, and then you got yourself another board. How do we know we can trust you?
So the bar on this is clearly extremely high. The best thing that we can do is to put this technology in the hands of people, talk about what it is capable of, what it's not, what we think is going to come, what we think might come, give our best advice about how society should decide to use this, say when we think it's important to not release something, which we also might get wrong, and build up that trust over time. But it is clear that this is going to be a very impactful technology, and I think a lot of scrutiny is thus super warranted.
I actually saw a headline that said you were the most powerful and perhaps most dangerous man on the planet. And I'm wondering how that sits with you.
It's definitely strange to hear you say that. I don't feel like the most powerful person or anything even close to that. I feel the opportunity, responsibility in a positive way, to get to nudge this in a direction that I think can be really good for people. And that's like a serious, exciting, somewhat nerve-wracking thing. But it's something that I feel very deeply, and I realize I will never get to touch anything this important again.
Just what we've seen thus far of people with nefarious ideas misusing it causes me a lot of concern. And yet when I sit with you, you're so calm, you're so relatable, it seems like everything's okay. Is that how you really feel?
I don't want to give a false sense of security here. I'm tremendously excited for the good. I think the good will be incredible. But there will be bad too. And we'll mitigate as much as we can, we the whole field. But this technology will be misused like every other technology before it. And we need to be clear-eyed about that. Even though I'm so convinced that the upside will be so tremendous, and I think we're all so excited about it, we do have to be responsible for the whole package.
I'm your football-obsessed best man, and I think you having your big day.
So, Marquez Brownlee, you have 20 million subscribers who all rely on you for all things technical. And this is a moment we're having. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, look, I've been in the tech world a while, and a big part of being in this world is trying to figure out when this new thing is a big deal or not. I can say confidently it does feel like a big deal.
I think it's a very big deal.
Yeah. I want to show you what an AI-generated video 1 year ago looked like.
Okay.
And it's this. This is The Rock eating rocks.
Okay.
It's kind of a meme. It's a pretty funny video. It's obviously not a real video.
Obviously.
The AI
We can
generated
tell that
video
that's
will
not
look
The
like
Rock
that.
eating rocks.
So you can tell that.
Yeah.
And you look at that and you say, okay, that's a pretty ridiculous looking video.
Yeah.
This was 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this is what AI generated videos look like.
What do you mean?
This is not a real person, not a real scene, no real cameras were used. This is completely generated by an AI-generated video tool. Now, you can still kind of look at pieces of this and tell something's not quite right.
No, I can't.
But that looks like a video. Here's another one. This one's a little more interesting. It's a handheld cinematic shot of a child on a beach holding an ice cream cone.
That's what you asked for. That's what you typed in.
That's what I typed in.
I'm assuming that AI had this stored somewhere, the picture of the child.
AI has millions of photos and videos of millions of children stored that is trained on.
Okay, are they real children? Is this a real child?
It's not a real child, but it looks like one because it's trained on a ton of real children.
Is that real ice cream?
It sure looks like it. And this is, again, like, if you pay super careful attention to the physics, then maybe you could tell it's not real.
So how are we supposed to know? How are we even supposed to know what is real and what isn't?
That's one of the biggest challenges right now, is because there aren't really any rules to it. So everyone who makes tools like this kind of is coming up with their own rules on the fly. Oh, I'll add a watermark to the corner, or I'll add some metadata to the file. So if someone downloads it, then
how are we supposed to know where to look for a watermark?
It's a couple layers deep. The point is there isn't really any good set of rules yet.
I know this has happened to you, it's happened to me, is to have people take an image of you, put words in your mouth that you didn't say, you're selling things you don't even know you're selling. I mean, I can't even keep up with all the things.
What I'm about to show you actually is a voice generator.
Yeah.
This is actually a real one right now that's trained on my last video.
Yes.
And you can ask it to say whatever you want, and it will sound just like me. Is there anything you'd like it to say?
I'd like to say Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled
peppers.
Let's see if we can do it.
Okay.
Generate speech. To the untrained ear, this sounds basically exactly like a recording of my voice.
Yeah.
And even to the trained ear, it's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers.
Oh my God. Oh
so,
my.
in a matter of seconds, this tool is generating really high quality recording level.
This is not good. This isn't good.
So that's what I mean.
I can say all of this is really fascinating, but it leaves me a little bit more concerned. You don't seem to be as concerned.
I'll say I've seen this story before. Cars, in general, went through this. Smartphones, of course, went through this. Computers went through this. The internet went through this. Where at their very formative years, they're really, really confusing and potentially amazing, but potentially horrible. And eventually, humans sort themselves out to lay the rules down in a way that we can actually trust that will be better than it is bad. So I've seen the story before, and I'm hoping it plays out the way it's played out before.
Thank you.
No problem.
Next we have Tristan and Asa, who are here to talk about the incredible speed in which this is happening.
It's moving really fast. We had experience with another technology that was introduced a little bit recklessly, and that was social media. And we're here because we don't want that to happen again with AI.
What was your experience?
I made infinite scroll. You know, that thing where you scroll and the phone just keeps loading more. I invented it before social media, and I invented it to make people more efficient. And it's now used to waste over 500,000 human lifetimes every single month. Addiction, doom scrolling, polarization, these are all consequences. And what I learned the hard way is that my good intentions as an inventor just wasn't enough.
And AI is moving way faster and is way more powerful in its impact on society than social media.
I thought Marquez's example actually caused me to have an aha when he was talking about all technology has gone through a similar phase where people question whether or not it was good or bad. So You say what to that?
It took time. It took decades to go from the invention of the car to adding seatbelts and driver's licenses and speed limits.
Yes,
That's right. We had to figure it out.
Yeah.
So the problem with AI is that we don't get the time.
So explain to me why AI is now moving so fast.
In 2017, there was a huge breakthrough at Google, and researchers there discovered a way that AI could start to learn a kind of universal language, where it could speak the language of anything. And then suddenly, the same lines of code could learn the language of DNA and learn how to make drugs, could learn the language of images, and could learn to do all those things that Marquez was showing. And so the rate of innovation went through the roof. And of course, once AI can do anything, people start to use it to do everything.
That's what's so confusing about AI, is it's going to give us all these benefits at the same time that it's undermining the foundations that we depend on. And you can't separate the promise from the peril. So I think instead of getting caught up in the question, is AI going to be good or is it going to be bad? It's about, is it happening at a pace that our society can respond appropriately?
But guys, it's here. That's why I started this program by saying it is here. So the argument isn't whether or not it's going to continue or whether the speed's going to continue, because it is already here.
When some of it's here, but even more powerful forms of AI are coming.
Yes.
OpenAI's stated goal is to be able to build systems of AI that are even smarter than humans, because there's trillions of dollars to be made on the other side. And so now is the time for us to say, what are the choices that we want to make about how this technology comes out?
What do you want to see happen now?
OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, they need to be held accountable for the harms that they would create so that they're all incentivized to pull back and go at the pace that they can help society be prepared and not be overwhelmed.
And who is holding them accountable?
We need laws.
I received a phone call, and it was a local number, so I answered my phone. It was my daughter on the line. I mean, she was so upset, like she was crying, and she said, "Mama, I've been in a terrible accident, and I am so, so sorry." And a man gets on the phone, and he says, "Is this Chasten's mother? She interrupted a drug deal that I was doing, and I lost $900 because of her. So I want my $900 back, or I'm going to kill her." So I'm driving like 100 miles per hour down the interstate, and just as I got ready to get off the interstate, a text come in, and it was my daughter. And she says, "Mom, what is going on? I'm at the doctor's office."
My immediate reaction was, how the heck did they get my voice? How did they know I called my mom Mama?
I'll tell you what I learned from it. I will not ever take another phone call unless they're in my contact list.
FBI Director Christopher Wray is here, and we want to talk about threats from AI and other aspects of law and order. Do you remember the first time that someone showed you evidence of AI being used to commit a crime, and what was your reaction?
So it's funny you ask. I've been hearing about AI for a long time, even before I became FBI director. But one of the first memories I have of dealing with it in this job was I was in a room, and a bunch of our folks got together to show me how AI-enhanced deepfakes can be created. And they had created a video of me saying things I had never said before and would never say. And I was staring at this video of myself, and I found it incredibly convincing, and it really caught my attention. I kept thinking, wait, that's not me. I never said that. What is this?
Yeah.
Right now, AI is most useful in taking what I would call JV criminals and making them varsity. That's a problem, for sure. We had a a case not that long ago with a child psychiatrist in North Carolina who took images that he was able to get online and then manipulate them using AI to make them into child pornography. One of the things that made this particular example so egregious and horrifying is that the child psychiatrist took photos from decades earlier, from first day of school, a school dance, that kind of thing, and essentially was able to manipulate those images to show them naked.
Wow.
There's so much out there now on social media and on the internet, well-intentioned things that people post about their lives, but in the wrong hands, enhanced by AI, people be more so I won't know is somebody posing as a shirt artist or so very gearing up from as comments are applied to you as a track. Except it's in your hands. And it's some guy behind it board and here. And what happens is that if you don't, we're going to show them to rule your life. Show this rule your consequences and point. You're going to do something in these situations. It's free.
Do you think we have the laws or regulations in place now to keep Americans safe from all that's coming, all the AI threats?
I would probably leave legislating to the legislators, but what I will tell you from an FBI director's perspective is that this is a type of technology that we see manifesting itself in more and more situations, more and more types of crimes, more and more types of threats. And there's a degree to which overall our laws haven't kept pace with the technology.
Does that frustrate you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. What I worry about is the day which is coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming faster than we would like, where those elite bad guys will find AI sophisticated enough to take their game to a whole nother level.
And the elite bad guys are doing what?
So the elite bad guys are the ones, for example, conducting the most sophisticated cyber actions. To me, no country represents a broader, more severe, more comprehensive threat to American innovation, American ideas, to our economic security, and ultimately our national security than the Chinese government. China has a bigger hacking program already than that of every major nation combined, and has stolen more of Americans' personal and corporate data than every nation, big or small, combined. The scale of the threat is significant. If you took the FBI's program and just said, forget Russia, forget Iran, just do nothing but China, the Chinese government's hacking program, they would outnumber us 50 to 1.
Does that mean the race that we all feel that we're in now, the race to be first, to be better, is to our advantage?
I do think we need to win the race. I think we are ahead in the race. But I would also say that we should, in the course of trying to win the race, disregard the importance of building in safeguards and controls and that sort of thing to help protect abuse. So speed, yes. Recklessness, no.
We've got an election coming. Do you think this election cycle will be compromised by disinformation?
I fully expect to see disinformation by foreign adversaries. We are finding all too often that something on social media that looks Bill from Topeka or Mary from Dayton is actually, some Russian or Chinese intelligence officer on the outskirts of Beijing or Moscow.
What should we be on the lookout for?
All Americans should try to be, more discerning consumers of information. It is incumbent on everyone in America to bring an intensified sense of focus and caution to the use of AI and how AI can be used by bad guys against all of us, but not to panic. I don't think this is a time for panic.
So Bill Gates, you've been on this tech rocket ship for quite some time. In the 70s and 80s, and even before, you were bringing us computers. And then in the 90s, we had the internet. And now, I'm just wondering how you think this AI moment stacks up to where we've been, to where we are right now.
Well, AI is going to have more impact than even the personal computer, the phone, the internet. In fact, it builds on those things in this phenomenal way.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the biggest technical advance in my lifetime.
What does the world look like if we get the best of AI?
In 10 years, I'd say education and healthcare will have changed dramatically. So in medicine, there's the research part, the speed of scientific innovation across all diseases, even the neglected ones like malaria and HIV, that will be accelerated. But perhaps even more profoundly, whenever you're confused about medical things. I mean, even in the U.S., your bill is confusing, your MRI report is confusing. That can be improved. You almost have the third person sitting in, doing the transcript, suggesting the prescription. Then you have this whole session that's been transcribed, and so instead of the doctor facing that computer screen, they're engaging with you, and this software is making sure there's really good transcript.
One of the things that's exciting to me is how this is going to impact kids and their personal learning.
The dream that you could have a tutor who's always available to you and understands how to motivate you, what your level of knowledge is, this software should give us that. When you're outside the classroom, that personal tutor is helping you out, encouraging you, and then your teacher, talks to the personal tutor and says, okay, what's your advice about how I do things in class the next day? They won't have to spend time grading homework. They'll immediately know how that went.
Does this mean you eventually don't have teachers and everybody just has their own AI teacher?
We're trying to help teachers, that personal engagement, motivating a kid, meeting them where they are. The AI in no way is a replacement for that. But the fact that as the teacher saying, okay, what should you work on? It's working at your level, that personalized notion. We can see it's already working pretty well.
I talked to Sam Altman, and he was pretty direct about AI's impact on the workforce. A lot of jobs may go away. Do you agree? And how should we start preparing ourselves to navigate that?
Yeah, particularly as you get in this, not the 5 to 10 year time frame, but beyond that, where the AIs, not only are they very good kind of white collar things, but also the robotics embodiment is taking on blue collar type things, whether it's warehouse work or factory work or even cleaning rooms, cooking, things like that.
And so that's not only just a threat to people's livelihoods, but people gain dignity and a sense of purpose and meaning from work.
That's right. We've organized our society around the fact that if you get a good education, if you get a unique set of skills, that you'll be rewarded for that. If we get 20 or 30% more productive, that's all to the good because there's so many unmet needs. But if you get, 300% more productive, we'd say, well, that's only good because then we can make more stuff and we can have more leisure time. But the way they organize it and maintain people's safety will require a lot of engagement and, picking leaders who are attuned to taking that access and making sure we're all sharing fairly. People are not going to have to work as much in this
I've heard you speak of 3-day work week.
Yeah, in the long run, as we get past that 10 years, work won't be as important. And, that, I think is basically a good thing.
What are the jobs that you believe are going to be unserved? What skills are going to persist in this new world?
Yeah, that's very hard to make a prediction. I mean, there'll be aspects of creativity. There'll be aspects of appreciating people, social work, the teacher really engaging that student in the rich way. Even though I can't guarantee that software won't eventually get good at that. But, for the next generation, the more human, the more engaged you are with other people, that is a skill set that is in central supply, whether it's mental health or education, that we can never have enough.
I mean, I've expressed several of my concerns, but do you have none? You have no?
I have significant fears about the risks. This is the first technology that is happening faster than even the insiders expected.
It's happening faster than you guys thought.
Absolutely.
Do you think that your company, that Microsoft and other companies that are going to make a lot of money off of AI, have an obligation to help us manage and navigate through this change?
Absolutely. The fact that there will have regulation, that the way we think about taxes will have to change quite a bit. If the companies are working with the government, then at least we have something that's not just profit-driven.
But what did we miss with the internet and social media that we can use to apply now to this moment of AI?
Well, I would say, speaking for myself personally, and I think many others, that we're a bit naive.
Yeah, so Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake,
without the internet, the availability of information would make us all a lot more factual. The fact that people would seek out kind of a niche of misinformation, we were a bit naive, and bringing those lessons of, let's get ahead of this. Let's get the politicians to be users and have a dialogue about maximizing the benefits, minimizing the negatives.
So we went through different levels of life, from newborns, toddlers, children, teenagers.
Even in Arabic is insan, and it translates to two things. One is forgetfulness, and that's a quality that all of us share. And the second root word of it is to be loved. Are we going to lose that aspect of humanity?
I think that as humans, there's nothing that brings us greater discomfort than lack of knowledge. And I think that AI, in many ways, comes out of that drive to know all the answers, to be in control.
As a religious person, one of the things that I reflect on is be careful about comfort, because too much comfort is actually going to make your life worse, not better, because it'll decrease your overall capacity.
What I do know is that I locate the divine in relationships between humans and the environment. To me, that's God and that's the divine, and that's something that technology can't stand in for and can never replace.
I am so delighted to be able to talk to Marilyn, one of America's greatest novelists, who writes all the messiness and all the grace of being human. But what do you make of this moment that we're in, and these two words, artificial intelligence?
Well, it's certainly a departure from any sense of intelligence we have had up to this point. The mulling, cumulative, knowing and interpreting the world that has been called intelligence.
Because we've always thought of them as uniquely human traits.
Exactly. The impulse behind it seems to be to eliminate the human hand, the human eye, in the making of the reality that we inhabit to the farthest extent possible, with the effect of concentrating power in the sense of the control of this strange fancy within very few people's hands, and consolidating masses of capital and masses of natural resources devoted to this very dubious project. It's just a human impulse to escape from its humanity, which is something that happens over and over again historically. The impulse to say that there's something intrinsic about a human person that cannot, in theory, be replicated by something that, frankly, works cheaper, works faster. I don't know why it is, but it's part of our human lot to be uncomfortable with our humanity and to mechanize it, out of existence in some way. We're not enough in love with our own existence, and we're not enough in love with everyone else's existence, and I think that's very dangerous.
I think that's just so powerful. We're not enough in love with our own existence. But hasn't that been the nature of who we are as human beings? Always the next, more, the better, the other.
We generalize from the behavior of people who tend to dominate historical narrative and are very frightening people in many, many cases. Not the kind of people we would have wished to be making great decisions.
What is the thing that concerns you most about AI?
I'm afraid that there will be so much investment of every kind into this project that it will have its consequences before it really deserves them. And so there will be all kinds of comeback on all kinds of employment and so on, anticipating this insurgence of AI. And then it will turn out that it's a bad project, that is more dangerous than it is valuable and so on. And so we will have a disrupted economy on one hand and an unusable technology on the other.
But it's also going to, no question about it, it's going to make life a lot easier for a lot of people. So what's wrong with that?
American schools ask for a lot of written work from students, and that's a very good thing. That's an autonomy-creating exercise, you know. But what we don't do, we don't tell them that this is a discipline, an athletic discipline that they have undertaken to strengthen themselves, not just to bring themselves over some arbitrary line of efficiency.
The discipline of doing the work and thinking process.
Exactly. And students say writing is difficult, which of course it is. But difficulty is the point.
And so if you were in charge of this whole AI movement, what would you be doing, or what would you advise?
I would advise that it be used for, you know, the kind of research that produces drugs and immunizations and so on. I would make a fantastic library.
Of course you would.
I would use it very, very judiciously to replace work that is drudgery without the arrogance of replacing the work of people who, you know, who are of very great value, you know, just because they are the substance of our ordinary interactions with the world.
But you know, I also think about this, as I'm growing older, and I think as you grow older, there's always the risk of trying to hold on to what was. And when we think about it, there are currently now children who are born and who will be born who will know nothing but this generation of AI. So there will be no looking back, no lamenting what used to be or the way it was. And that's always been the case. But I get the sense that you somehow feel that this moment is different than others in past generations. Why?
Well, you know, the thing that occurs to me to compare with it is the Manhattan Project that was carried on among very few people in deep secrecy. These things are talked about afterward as if they're collective decisions, but they're not. They're scientific thresholds that are crossed only by people who know exactly what they are doing with it. It's also, there's no going back from nuclear fission, but that doesn't mean we put ourselves in the same kind of position again.
Consumer Report you with a clearer picture of what is coming. Artificial intelligence is still beyond our control, our understanding, but it is here. We're going to be living with technology that can be our ally as well as our rival. It is something no other generation has ever experienced. This moment requires a different level of alertness, awareness about who we are and where we're going, what's real and what's not, what's artificial intelligence and what is human wisdom, authentic intelligence earned through study and experience. We are this planet's most adaptable creatures. We will adapt again, but keep your eyes on what's real. The stakes for all of us could not be higher.